Hi, it's Nicole Baines with Nicole's Business Notebook, where we're bringing together power players and my business friends from the greater Phoenix Valley and beyond so that we can learn what they're doing, how they're doing it, and how we can all do better business together. This week, I have Michael Clark in the studio. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
100%. So, for those that don't know, obviously you have done a lot in your career. Let's start with the origin story of Michael Clark.
How far back do you want to go?
Hey, man, let's start at the beginning. A long time ago in a galaxy
Oh,
far away.
geez. Well, I'm basically a Pennsylvania, Ohio, New Jersey boy. Came out to Arizona on a wrestling scholarship. Left Arizona, my first job, to travel Alabama and Mississippi for um, being a manufacturer's representative, which basically I am right now. Back in that day, if it means anything to some people, I was the Atari and the Mattel rep
Yeah.
and Craco car stereo and things of that nature, the consumer electronics industry. And then I was involved in the hospitality industry. I worked for a company by the name of Guest Supply, who now is owned by Cisco Foods. If you go in your hotel rooms, you can find all the soaps and shampoos and mending kits and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That was me. I traveled 6 years, 6 days a week, two jets a day for that company. It was a blast.
Wow.
So I came. But long story short, we got back out to Arizona. My wife and I owned a unfinished furniture store down on Country Club in Guadalupe by the name of Allwood Furniture, and we had that for a while. And then when IKEA opened up,
Mm,
things kind of went south. But anyway, so I went. I always continued manufacturer representing in basically consumer goods. So I call on a lot of people at Kroger. Um, I call on people at Publix, Home Depot, Lowe's, um, and those kind of people of the world. And but then it's metamorphosed itself into talking to people and business owners about this PCMP program that we have now.
that's great.
And so that's basically the quick on that one.
I love that. So, for those that might not understand, what is a manufacturer's representative? What do you do? How do you do it? What's the goal?
Okay. So basically, there are a lot of companies out there that are actual manufacturers of a particular product or service, but they don't want to hire their own salesperson to be a direct salesperson for them. So they basically look for people who are already involved with the industries, the certain channels of distribution, whether it's the automotive industry, the grocery industry, and they hire us and we work strictly on commission most of the time. And basically, if we sell something, we get paid. If we don't sell something, we don't get paid. And so they utilize us as their sales team.
Is it tough working on commissions?
Yeah, I've been doing it though since 1982.
Just a few years.
Just a few years. It's difficult. Yeah, I tell my wife, most people can't do, this job. A lot of people are not accustomed to working a 1099 and basically having to wake up wake up that day and go to work. And if you sell something, you earn money. If you don't sell something, you don't earn any money. But
Yeah, there's a lot of ebbs and flows and struggles working with commissions. And
yeah,
like you mentioned, it's not for everybody.
no,
But what have you learned throughout your just a couple years of experience in this industry that maybe might help somebody else?
definitely perseverance. You have to have perseverance, patience, and I know those are big words and they sound like they just float around, but it is for real. At the end of the day, you have to be able to, um, you know, assess what you did or what you didn't do, so that you don't make the same mistake, or that you do repeat what you did the previous day as well. So, perseverance is definitely one of them. You've got to be an optimistic person. You don't have to be an optimistic person, but I'll say it does help quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I've worked commission in a lot of, the different jobs I've had through my career. And there's something about being your own boss you still have those quotas, you still have those expectations from the relationships that you built, the contracts you've signed.
Hmm. Yep,
But the day to day, making sure that you wake up, make sure that you make those extra phone calls even if you don't want to,
that's right.
and going that extra, to figure out, okay, is this a really client dinner, is this coffee, is this, and figuring out the social part of being a salesperson, when there's really no parameters, you're hustling and doing your own thing. So
Yeah,
uh,
it does help. The one good thing I will say is it does help to have good product lines. That does help you. I mean, when I first came out of college, I was, like I said, I was a manufacturer's rep, which is very unusual to come
mhm,
out of college as a manufacturer's rep. Usually, they're more older and seasoned type people. But when I came out with Mattel and Atari, I mean, I actually would sometimes walk into a person's office and just say, "Do you want to buy this or not?" And if you don't, the next person will take it. And it
mhm.
was kind of like, an interesting situation at that particular time. But I would say definitely, evaluate the product lines that you're going to represent, and just ask yourself the one key word that we use, is this product line synergistic with the channels of distribution that we currently serve? If the answer is yes, we'll talk about it. If the answer is no, we just basically say, we don't want to waste each other's time, and we just let it go.
Yeah, I love that. So, obviously, with your experience, you've been in sales for a long time. So how has sales changed? Obviously, technology has its influence, but the same sales processes that you use at the beginning of your career, are you still using now? Have they developed? Have they evolved?
To some degree, what we've seen is, the I used to have a product, and if it came out across my desk, I used to be able to call my buyer and say, "Hey, could I come in and see you on Tuesday or Wednesday of next week?" And they would always say, like, "Sure, come on in." That has kind of changed. There's a new perspective of products, and how they look at it. There's a term called line review, and some people maybe call it category review, but now it's turned into, I may have a hot product. Well, as an example, we have one coming up right now that it's called My Pasta, and a lot of people, if you can just visualize the in the grocery store, the ramen cups, and you just
Hmm.
add the hot water to it.
Yep.
Ours is the same basic thing, but you just add hot water to pasta, and it's a
Mm.
fusilli pasta noodle in pesto and tomato basil and all these other different
Yum.
flavors. Yeah, it is good. It is very good, and it's made in Italy, so it is meets all the European food guidelines.
Oh, amazing.
So, as an example, you can't sell ramen noodles that we have here in our grocery stores in Europe. It's against the law. It
Yep.
doesn't meet their requirements. But anyway, along with that, though, uh, we are being reviewed for that category. And for some now, let's just say we go to Kroger, they don't say, "Oh, Mike, come on in and show it to me." They say, "Okay, we'll see you on March 15th." And now what's happened is every product has a review date of when they actually look at that category. And if you don't make it into that particular window to get the appointment, that's one of the most important parts now, is getting the appointment in that line review period. You have to basically wait predominantly a full year to come back around for another chance to sell that product line. So that's a big change.
Yeah, I can definitely see. I mean, the scheduling is its own animal, and that whole bit when it comes to businesses. But having the timing, I think, is
Mhm.
incredibly important when it comes to sales, and that is,
Definitely.
obviously, as a salesperson, we're like, go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. But, there,
Yeah.
unfortunately, there's times where, that's going to work and it's not going to work. So, being cognizant
Yeah. It
of
may work. It just may take a longer time.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a change. So, for a manufacturer's representative, as you mentioned, you want to find things that align with, your main offering. So you're having the same
Yeah.
conversations, in the same industries with the different products that you support.
That's correct.
So, how is somebody going to get into being a manufacturer's representative if they're like, oh my gosh, I love food. I would love to sell food. I don't think it's just that easy. So, how
No,
would you recommend somebody that's interested in being a manufacturer's representative to make that change?
I think a lot of it has to do just like with the networking aspect of everything that that we're accustomed to here. Um, you might have to invest some time and actually go to one of the major trade shows. Like you may have to go to the houseware show or the consumer electronics show or one of the big boys show, and you're basically going to have a resume and knock on doors and basically find some companies that will basically be looking for a sales representative and see if that works out. You're not going to get the best product line, right off the bat. You will have to take on some smaller lines or some less known lines. But if you work that, your name will get out there. And that's what's happened now. My phone rings, and that's what I have to do. I have to tell the person in a rhetorical way, is your product synergistic with what we're doing right now? And if so, we'll look at it. And if not, we just dismiss ourselves, you know, in a friendly way. But you're just going to really have to just step out, or you can go to, if you know you had a niche and you wanted to call on, we'll just say grocery or food or whatever, go to some of the local distributors and become a distributor sales rep for that particular industry. And that will get you started.
Yeah, I love that. It's, about finding those opportunities and going to those trade shows, finding the distribution partners, where there's a will, there's a way. And I think if you
Yeah,
can really lean into that and lean into, hey, look, I want to do this. I'm passionate about doing this and hustle, you're going to find those opportunities that aren't going to be,
yeah,
out there or advertised, or maybe
right.
the job opening's not even available.
Yeah, and sometimes, to be quite honest with you, it's not really what you know; it's who you know. You'll get that
Hmm.
periodically. It's not the rule of thumb, but that will happen.
Right. No, that makes sense. So, obviously you're working through a lot of the different,
Hmm.
offerings that you have as a manufacturer's
Yeah,
representative, but I'm really passionate about this program. I am literally telling everybody that will listen, if you have
yeah,
W-2 employees, you need to make sure that you hear this.
that's right.
So, PCMP, what is it? Let's start there.
Well, preventative care management program is basically what the extension of the acronym, but we just use the word, the PCMP.
Right.
Um, and kind of how this really got started was, once again, working with my customers. One of the questions for my buyers I usually ask is at the end of a meeting, I just kind of say, well, is there anything else that you're looking for? And about 15 years ago, a person said to me, well, yeah. I said, well, oh, okay, what are you looking for? $1 million. I said, well, so am I.
Hmm.
And then 6 months later, another person asked me that. I asked the same question, and a person says, I'm looking for $750,000. I said, well, what for? And they wanted to expand their warehouse and basically change their software system. I'm like, well, okay, I'm selling product at that time, but now all of a sudden I'm getting some different information coming back to me. And then about another, I don't know, however many more months later, but this happened a third time. So I said, man, there's got to be something to this. So I've learned that if I can become tighter into a company's financials, that improves my relationship with anything that I
Hmm.
have to offer them. So what came across my desk was this program, PCMP. And in a real nutshell, it was a real eye opener. I mean, it's huge. Um, Basically what we have discovered, not me personally, but what has been discovered, because this actually, we'll get to that in a second, but this started basically in the Ronald Reagan days, basically when he was doing pro business enhancements. This is kind of the beginning of it. So this isn't like two people with a Home Depot bucket with a stir stick sitting in the garage trying to
Right.
figure out something. But what we discovered is um, all employers with W 2 employees are overpaying their matching FICA tax by $600 per employee per year.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of money. I mean, right now, when you pay your FICA tax, Okay, you're matching FICA tax. And sometimes I've talked to employees. I said, do you realize that when you pay your FICA tax, let's just say it's $100, just for conversation, do you realize that your employer has to match that $100 and send it in?
Hmm.
And a lot of people say, no, I had no idea. Well, they do. But the thing about it is, there's a component for the employer that they actually are literally overpaying by every W 2 employee that they have $600 per employee per year.
Hmm.
We're like, wow.
That can add up.
So that can add up. So if you're a business owner out there, the only thing I can say is while you're listening to us or after you listen to us, just take a piece of pencil. And I mean, it's super easy. It's just simple math. Just take your employees that you have, multiply it times 600, and that's the amount of money that you can keep, not save, keep. Because right now, you're sending in the complete FICA tax every pay period. We're allowing you to keep a portion of that back. It is your money.
I love that. And for me, I think it's important to talk about the origin story. So, as the government, they have found these opportunities that
Mm-hmm.
if you can do better when it comes to chronic conditions,
Yep.
they're going to pay less for healthcare. So obviously there's been a lot in the healthcare industry in that focus on, maintaining chronic
Right.
conditions, medical adherence, all of those different community, healthcare statistics.
Yes.
But this program is empowering the employer to provide benefits that help with those chronic conditions to ensure that their employees are getting better benefits. They're getting more access. They're getting,
Right.
more telehealth and these different, components of this program.
That's right.
These additional things, one, are going to help the employer to, with retention. They're obviously, as Michael mentioned, they're going to keep the $600 per employee per year. And then there's another really exciting thing for the employees on
That's
their
right.
paycheck. So can you talk
That's
a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So this isn't one of those things like where the employer is saying, "Oh, well, that's just great. The employer gets it. My employer gets it, but I don't get anything." No, that's not actually true at all. As a matter of fact, the employee receives three major benefits. Um, we utilize pre-tax dollars to accomplish this goal. By the way, to capture that money for the employer. So, what it does, number one, is it lowers the taxable income for the employee. That's good. Number two is in order to do these pre tax dollars that we have to offer, we also have to offer 213D compliant benefits. In a nutshell, 213D compliant benefits are for us, are, for example, telehealth as one. Another one is like couples counseling, or personal counseling. The other one is addictive services counseling. Another one is like the 12-week Mayo Clinic dietary program. And then, oh, the one that's kind of cool is there's an app that we have now that's part of the compliant benefits. And what it does, it takes like a picture of your face for about 15 to 30 seconds. And then from that, it actually tells you what your blood pressure, your body mass, and a couple other things are. So now when you're talking to your telehealth doctor, you can actually say, hey, the telehealth doctor may even say, well, I wish I had your blood pressure. Well, it's whatever, 145 over 67. And you can give him that information now, or her that information. Um, and so then the third component is all of the W 2 employees receive a bump in pay. And the reason why I say bump, and I'll explain, it ranges sometimes between around $85 to $185 per paycheck based on a monthly basis. So, what we ask for is an employee census. We're not an insurance company. We're not a payroll company. We are not out to disturb any program or plan that you currently have in place. Keep it. Keep
Please.
Please keep all the plans that you have currently in place. This is just simply, an add-on. So what we do is we take that employee census, and then we will then give a complimentary report back to the employer. It will show the employer how much they're going to keep, and also now we know if they're married or single, and how many, if they're claiming one or two or three dependents. because we didn't know that before, but now we do. And then it will actually tell us, like, employee number one will receive a bump in pay of, let's say, $89.15. Employee two may actually receive a bump in pay of $120.45. So we can actually give an actual report by employee of how much the bump in pay will actually be for the employee. But the other good thing is now for the employer, you have a person that's receiving lower taxable income. They're receiving benefits. And by the way, I didn't mention this, but those benefits are zero premium, zero deductible, and for some of you who understand this, are zero participation. What I mean by that is some people have 213D benefits in their current, like, say, health plan. And in that policy, I'll use this as just a low percentage. They may say that 10% of your employees have to utilize some of these benefits in the plan. Well, it's not that we don't care. To be coy about it, we really don't mind if you don't use the benefits at all. We need to offer those benefits in a 213D in order to capture and utilize pre-tax dollars. That's
Mm-hmm.
why we have to have that. So you have benefits with no premium, no deductible, and zero participation. So now that, and once again, that third benefit was a bump in pay.
Mm-hmm.
You have some happy employees. So now, as an employer, your retention is probably going to be a lot better because you have some happy people. At least for now, you have some happy people. So
Yeah, I
that's
think
kind of like
it's
the nuts and bolts of it.
correct. I know it's a super powerful. It's a win-win-win when we're talking about the employer, the employees, but I know that there are some stipulations. They have to have benefits. So can you go into that part
Yeah,
of it too?
yeah. There's two actual qualifications. One is that they have to be a W-2 employee. 1099 employees don't count in this program. And then number two is they do have to have company benefits or benefits through their spouse or benefits through their parent, because of the rule being now 26, where you could be up, age of 26 and be on your parents' healthcare program.
Right.
So if you're part of any one of those three as far as healthcare coverage and a W-2 employee, you qualify for the PCMP program. Now, just to make it short, it's not all or none. I'll give an example. Let's just say you're a construction company. Some construction companies will use third party, people to do their work. Well, that's okay. A lot of those people are going to be 1099, and so they won't qualify. But the construction company has secretarial staff, architectural staff, any kind of staff person that's a W-2 employee, those people can qualify. And so if you had 25 of those kind of people out in your company, you're getting nothing for them right now.
Right.
And so you can get, 25 times 600, that's your money
Yep.
as an
No.
employer, that is.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's super powerful. So PCMP is this amazing program that we really want to get to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Really, anybody with W-2 employees, I mean, $600 is $600, and
So,
for
yeah,
every additional employee that you have beyond that, it's just going to get better and better and better. And I
that's right.
think one of the other components of this is retention.
Yes,
Things are hard out there. There's obviously what you'll say about the economy and jobs and all of those things, but when you really talk about it, additional money on the paycheck, additional benefits that your employees can benefit
yeah,
from, is something that you can use as a negotiation tactic.
that's exactly right.
And so you can use it on retention. You can use it when you are having positions available during the interviewing process. It's super powerful, and it's one of those things that has been built in for us to use.
Yeah,
The
and there's
details.
and there's no net cost.
Correct.
That's the other thing. There's no net cost to the employer or to the employee. I mean, that's amazing,
Hmm.
So, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and then for those who may think that this is too good to be true, we've had the tax accountants go through it. We've had the IRS go
Oh
through
yeah.
it. We have made sure, these are Reagan, sort of laws that have been, done. This is a legit thing. They're,
Oh yeah.
the whole bit. And if you get to the point where you're going through your taxes and you need that additional support to make sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, there's support there too.
Oh yeah.
So, we're really a partner coming in to help you to do better business, to pay less to Uncle Sam and stop tipping them.
Sure.
And then, to help your employees to just, feel like they are getting even better benefits of, working with you. So
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those win, 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 win type programs.
Yeah, because I even tell people when they say, "Well, I've got to run this by my accountant." I mean, we hear this all the time. And I said, "Go ahead, turn it in." I said, "But I said, "You're going to love the answer and you're going to hate the answer at the same time." And they say usually like, "Well, why?" Well, number one, they're going to come back and say, "Yeah, this is a fantastic program." But number two is, I usually ask them, I say, "How long have you been working with your CPA?" And they say, "Well, what? I'll make a number up. 5 years." Well, you've been working with this program's been with your CPA for longer than 5 years.
Hmm.
Why aren't you on it?
Yep.
That kind of a thing. And I understand why. I mean, there's just so many tax laws to go through and updates and everything. But this has just been something that, as a matter of fact, this is similar to, this is like the next find, if you will, because we had the COVID programs, but all those programs have expired.
Correct.
This doesn't have an expiration date. This PCMP program does not have an expiration date. So this $600 per employee per year is year after year after year.
Correct. So for those that are interested, please reach out to me. I'll get you in touch with Michael. He is the one that is facilitating it. But it's definitely worth a conversation to
Oh
see
yeah,
kind of how it would work with you, with your organization. $600 per W-2 employee could add up. You're
yeah,
talking a medium or large size company. I mean, this is changes in the budget potentially. This is
yeah.
a big impact. So definitely reach out to me. Let's have a discussion, get you in touch with Michael, and move to the next steps to see how this is viable for you. So, we've talked about a lot about being a manufacturer's representative,
Oh
this
yeah.
amazing PCMP program. The last question I want to ask you, Michael, if you could bibbity boppity boop and every entrepreneur could learn something from you, what would you hope that they learn?
I guess the one thing I guess would be the foundation of what I went and actually answered earlier is you have to be optimistic and have perseverance in order to move forward. Now, granted, everybody's going to have their bad day. I got it. I have mine. But overall, you got to be able to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and basically move forward every single day. Um, you know, it's just like any of the if you're a professional ball player or a professional of anything, you can't give up. You have to move forward, and the only way you can do that, the word I'm using is perseverance and optimism. So that would be my answer for you.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Michael. Obviously, we went through a lot. You've had an incredible sales experience, and now PCMP and being a manufacturer's representative. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, 100%. So, again, this is another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook where we are bringing together the power players that have amazing opportunities like the PCMP program so that we can make sure that everybody here in the greater Phoenix Valley and beyond can take advantage of those opportunities, potentially align as a manufacturer's representative. He's always looking for things to see if they're synergistic. So, definitely, reach
Yeah,
out. Let's see how we can help. And again, thanks so much for
yeah,
tuning in.
and we're this is offered nationwide, by the way. This is
Oh,
just not in Arizona. Yeah.
perfect. Amazing. So, again, this is another episode of Nicole's Business Notebook, and we'll see you next time.